Hello everyone, welcome back to 20 Minutes of Code. In the first video we created this backend service which displays the current weather, forecast weather, and also hello world. So what we're going to be doing in this video is starting the timer for 20 minutes and create a front end where we can actually see this data in a much nicer format. So we'll just check it's running. Yep, so it's all running. Awesome, so the first thing we want to do is import render template from Flask, and this is going to help us import some, well, not import, but render some static content. So we're going to create some directories. We've got the web directory. Inside that we have static, and we're also going to have another one called templates. Inside templates, we're going to make index.html. And then in VS Code, there's something called the emmet abbreviation, which is 1 exclamation mark. And that will just render you some boilerplate HTML. If you don't have this on your machine, feel free to just copy paste from the code that's available on GitHub. Just going to call this my weather app. Save that. So what we want to do here, instead of just rendering the string hello world, we're going to render the index.html template. And within that, it's going to have the actual message. So the syntax we'll be using is double curly braces, and you'll see this in a few different templating engines. So we'll be using Jinja, which is spelled like so, but you'll also see similar syntax in other ones such as handlebars. So we can also add a conditional here to say if there's a message, render the message. Then we just need to end that like so. And these percentage symbols just let the program know, hey, we're actually trying to do some sort of operation. So I'll save that. So instead of just returning this p tag with hello world as a string, we want to render a template. You can see here it says template name or list, and then any context. Text.html, we'll just say message is equal to hello world. Cool. And we get an error saying template not found. And you might be wondering why, because the template definitely exists. And that's because there's a little bit of configuration that we need to do in order to tell Flask where our templates are stored. So we'll do static URL path. We're also going to add static folder. This is going to be the folder that we've created. So web static. And then we also need to do our template folder, which is web templates. Cool. Looks like it's reloaded. Cool. And then we see hello world. So if we don't pass a message through, because we do have that if statement, we should just see nothing. Awesome. So what we're going to be doing for the weather is actually rendering that inside a template. And instead of message, we're going to pass through a different object that actually has some weather information. So we'll start out with the current path. So we've got our try, making our request, that's cool. And then what we're going to do here is we're just going to assign the JSON to a variable named data, which is just a generic name. And then we'll create a dictionary called current weather. And the main reason for this is we can just grab multiple things from data and pass it all through as one dictionary object. Description. And then inside that, we're going to make a title case. So what title will do is for the description, if it's say very cloudy, instead of looking like this, it will actually look like that. So it's just a stylistic change there. And then we also get an icon back from the API. So this allows us to display a picture of the actual weather, whether it's clouds or something else. So we'll grab that. And then we also have name, data name, and then we'll grab the temperature. So depending on your API call, the temperature will be in Fahrenheit by default. But if you want to do it in Celsius, which is what I'll be doing today, oops, I mispressed. Just exit that. If you want to do it in Celsius, which we'll be doing today, we just need to change the request up here. So we'll do that shortly. And then lastly, we'll grab wind, data, wind, speed. Cool. All right, so currently we're just using the default. So I'm just going to add and units equals metric. So I'll just do it inside here. And this is all in their documentation. They explain what the default is and how to change it. So this will now be Celsius. Cool. And then we want to return a render template, same as above. Actually, what we'll do, we'll create a separate template. And then we'll just say weather equals current weather. Cool. So inside a weather.html template, we will actually pass through all of this information. So we'll create that. And inside the weather template, we will need to add some information, and then we'll have to tell the index.html template that it should rely on this. So we'll start with that. Usually there's spaces here just to let it breathe. So weather template, just add that comment there. So if weather, then we'll just end it. Then inside here, we'll want to tell it to include, and then we're just going to say what we want to include, which is weather.html. Oh, wrong symbol. So what it's going to do here is if index.html receives something that it knows about weather, so if we pass through weather to say weather equals hello, then this will be true. And then it's going to look for weather.html and render that. So just because we've got if weather, I'll just need to go back here and check. Yep, that matches. So I'll pass through weather. Cool, so our weather.html is empty, so it's not really going to do anything. So what we'll do here is we will just add something like this, just to see if it prints out. Back to the website. I must have a syntax error there. That's quite strange. I think adding those spaces was a mistake. Yep. Cool, so we've now got our weather information coming through inside our template, which is great. We should be able to see inside our source. Yep, p tag, cool. That's looking fine. So now what we'll want to do is display this in a way that looks a bit nicer than what it is currently. And one way we can do that is to use something called Bootstrap. So we'll just Google that. Like so. And then they give you installation here, so you can grab the CSS, and we'll just put that in our base template here. Just copy paste, JavaScript. Cool, that's all in. And then what we should notice is the default styling here should change slightly, which it hasn't. Let's try the hello world. Yep, so it's changed there. So our p tag comes with default styling, which changes the way it looks. All right, so now we've got the weather information in this p tag. We'll add some styling. So I'll just head into the final solution and grab that quickly. And then we'll just walk through it. So what we've got here is we're rendering a Jumbotron. So if you're not sure what a Jumbotron is, just search here. Oh, that wasn't what I expected. Let's go. This is what I want. So there's certain styling associated with Jumbotrons. So you can see their example here. If you say, hey, I want a div with the styles associated with a Jumbotron, and if I want an H1 with the certain class, etc., it's going to come out looking like this. So you could realistically copy that, put it in your website, and you'll get something that looks like this. So what we'll be doing is we'll just be using this as a quick way to get started, and we'll just make this say, hey, the weather in Wellington, and then we'll just have the weather here. There are other styles and other things that you can grab. You know, if you want to do forms, if you also want a nav bar, which we'll be using later, you can also add that in. So what I've done here in the Jumbotron is I've just put the header as current weather in weather.name. So what that will do here is we're passing through weather, which is current weather. It will go into this name key here, and it will print out the name in the response from the OpenWeather API. So we should see your city name here showing up in the template. And then we've also got the icon. So here we've just got an image tag, and with the source, we just put a source like you normally would, but then we use these double curly braces to add that value of the icon. So we can actually, if we click this link now, it won't work. But in the documentation, they do have a list of all the icons. So you're pretty much just dynamically grabbing the picture from their server. And in the description, we've got weather.description, we've got the temperature in Celsius, and then we also have the wind. So if you remember description, temperature, wind, come back here, description, temperature, wind, and we also have the name and the icon. Cool. So let's see what this looks like. All right, so we have some stuff here. I did expect the styling to be a bit different. So I found out why the styling wasn't applying. So when we're here, you'll notice that there's no Bootstrap styling, but here there is. And I noticed that when inspecting the page, I was only getting sort of a minimal response. I wasn't also getting all the Bootstrap styling. And that's because in server.py, I was only rendering the weather.html template. So we have to change this to index, because inside index, it's going to pull weather in. So we'll see if that's fixed it. Cool, that's better. What we're going to do here is go div class equals container, and this is just going to add a bit of padding there. Cool, just so it's brought in. So the next thing we're going to add is navigation, and I'll just grab the boilerplate code. Feel free to copy paste this part. It's available on GitHub. So what I've done here, I've actually just copied this from the Bootstrap example, and then I've just made the logo on the top left take us back to the hello world, and we have a home link which takes us to the same place. Then we have current, and then we have forecast. So we're just going to add this in. We're not going to add an if statement because we always want the nav to be shown, like so. Cool. So gray's probably not the best color, but hopefully you can see it there. So we're on the current page, home, current. Just to make this full width, we will actually bring it outside of that div, like so. Cool. So as you can see now, it stretches the whole width. So that will help us navigate our pages. So now the last thing we need to do is add the forecast down here. So we'll just make sure forecast still works. Yep. Cool. So what we're going to do here is forecast.html. And I'll just see what's inside there. It'll just be some more boilerplate. Cool. So what we're doing inside forecast is we're going to grab the forecast for multiple days, and we're going to use a for loop to iterate through it. If you're wondering what this syntax is, I just went Jinja for loop, and you could probably click any of these. Loops and conditionals. Cool. And they give you examples here, how to end it. So feel free to read up on this. But it's just going to be an array of days. So it'd be something like day 1, day 2, day 3. And it's going to iterate through, and it's going to bring out the day itself. And then it's also you can also access certain indexes and print out the description and also the weather icon. So we need to get that array of days set up. So we'll do that now. So looking at the backend code, we'll need to add the return render template. So we'll just say r equals, so our JSON will be here, our JSON response, return render template, index.html. We don't want to make that same mistake again. Then forecast equals r, and then daily is going to be the array that we're accessing. Close that. So you can see daily right there. Cool. So it didn't crash, but we also don't see anything. So we'll just need to make sure, actually there's one more thing we'll add. So the last thing we need to add is the forecast. If forecast include, what do we call it? Forecast.html. There it is there. So you can see the icons and also the data. So what I've done in this template, I haven't styled the entire thing, but I've shown you how you can access, certain descriptions, or, so this is for each day, it's going to grab the description there. So overcast clouds, light rain, so you can see it changes there. And this is the rest of the JSON that we can play with. So I've left it like this so that you can style it in your own time and perhaps make little panels like this. Or something else you could do is a Bootstrap card, which would be quite neat. So you could have little cards that show the weather. But I want to not give all the answers and leave some things for you to discover on your own. There's one last thing that we can add as well. So we can do app.error handler. And then if we get a 404, which is page not found, do something with that. We'll actually grab the error because we have that in our context. Return, render template, x.html, and then we'll just pass through the message and we'll make that equal to the error. And then we'll also pass through the status. So what will happen here is you'll now get errors for any route that you haven't handled, like so. Cool, and I'll just check if that's everything. There is one last thing we can add. Just go here, you can actually add your own custom styles inside the static folder. So we'll just do that quickly. And I just want to show you this in case you did want to do custom styling and not rely on Bootstrap. And this is the syntax. You can also do JavaScript, so I'll have that in the code. But here's the syntax for custom styling. So you just have to tell your index.html to look inside the static folder for a file called style.css and bring that in as a style sheet. So this should make the message turn a different color, and it hasn't. Styles.css, what do we call it? Style, that's why. Save. Static. What's going on? Oh, sorry, I have to give it the ID message. That's my bad. Message render message. So we'll just go p id equals message. I was just trying to rush to meet the 20 minutes. There we go. Alrighty, so we got forecast, custom styling, rendering everything. So yeah, I think we're good to go. So for the front end, feel free to add a bit more styling. I might do some myself, and we'll see you in the next video where we start deploying this to the cloud. Cool. Thanks for your time, and we'll catch you next time.